So let's continue with the actual installation of the VME Manager software. So as you can see in the previous video, well, I was running the HPE VM command, and one of the options in there in the VME console is install VME Manager. So let's get started. And the most important thing that you need to fill in is all this information. So IP address, netmask, gateways, DNS servers, the URL of the appliance, a host name, and then a username and a password for the actual VME Manager, which is not the same as the one for your Ubuntu OS, of course. So let me enter all this information to proceed. So there you go. I entered all the information. Watch out with the URL, the DNS name. I advise that this address is resolvable, so that you created that record already in DNS just to avoid strange behaviors during the installation. Now in 8.05, the version that I'm using, HP made our lives a little bit easier because that image URI is the link towards that QCOW.gz file that I uploaded earlier in the previous video. Now in 8.05, what I like is that there is at least that option browse files, and so I don't have to type it in anymore, so I can go now to the TMP folder, and there is that QCOW.gz file that I can select and open. So in the previous versions, you had to type in manually here, file, colon, 3 slashes, where a lot of people were making issues there. So now that browse file option is definitely a very good thing in version 8.05 and beyond. You can select the VM size, small, medium, large, depending on how many clusters, VME clusters and VMs that you want to manage. The only difference is that this appliance will have a little bit more vCPUs and memory assigned. More information about this can be found in the documentation website back again. And then the final thing that needs to be configured is so I go for small, is the network interface. Now for the management interface, also here in the previous versions, you had to select, you had to know the name of the interface and type it in manually. Well, now here as well, you have that nice drop down box and you can select your own management interface. If you have a separate network for compute VLAN, well, at that moment, and you have VLANs at that moment, you can configure, set it up in here as well. Once that is done, you hit the install button, and now the installation will start of the actual VME Manager. So let's take a look at the installation. It is now downloading that QCOW image file, and it will continue with the installation. As soon as you arrive at the moment of starting the VME Manager service, this will take a little bit longer, but you might proceed already by opening up a VME Manager URL in your web browser. So if you open up a web browser, you will see now the Morpheus loading icon in your web browser. And then there you go. It goes quite quickly. It arrived at 100% now. Please open up the web browser, go to vmem.bitcoin.local, which is my URL to complete the setup. At that moment, you can exit this UI, but go take a quick look in virtual machines, and then you will see that effectively the first VM is actually running, which is my VME Manager. So let's switch to the web browser. So for a short time, you will see this Morpheus is loading icon. So it's starting now all the required services and dependencies. So let's wait a little bit longer until we get the initial configuration screen. And so after a short time, well, we arrive at this initial configuration of the VME Manager. So let's take a look at those few steps that we need to do. Well, first of all, we're going to type in here an account name. I'm going to put in my company name in here. I'm going to enter my first name, last name. My username will be Bart Jungens. My email address, and then the password that I would like to use. And I hit next. Then the appliance name will be VMEM in my case, and the appliance URL was the one that I am using already in my web browser. I'm going to enable monitoring the logs. I'm going to enable backups as well. We will talk about that later, but yes, you want that integrated data protection mechanism as well by default active. And then the final one is a license key. If you have a valid license key, you can paste it in here. If you don't put anything in here at that moment, just leave it blank. That 60-day trial license will be then started at this right moment today. And I hit the complete setup. At that moment, my VME Manager console is completely ready, up and running. So we installed Ubuntu OS on all my hosts. Then install the VME software on top of it on all my hosts, and only on one host we deployed now that VME Manager. And then you can go to the dashboard of your VME Manager. You will see that there's nothing yet, no groups, no clouds, no clusters, no compute. That is all part of the upcoming videos. But this concludes now the installation of the VME Manager.